Well, hello everyone. After a week break, welcome back to the midweek recap, and what is actually going to be the final version of the midweek recap. What I have decided to do is, going forward, all the contents that the midweek recap has had will be uploaded separately in the week following each race, which will allow for more content on the channel. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will prefer to watch it that way, things such as moments of the week and like the analysis that way, rather than in a 15-minute to 30-minute long stream. And that overall is probably better for the overall content. So, before we go into it, make sure you follow us on Twitter at RaceWeek_show. Visit the RaceWeek site at raceweekblog.com. And subscribe to this YouTube channel for more content, for more all of this content. Without further ado, let's go into the news. Of course, a lot of the content, the news that has been around, has been surrounding Lewis Hamilton and the fact that he has secured his 7th world title. It is rumoured, in fact I believe it's almost official, that he will be finally receiving a knighthood in the New Year's honours, which is well overdue. But I've said this so many times that Lewis has proven not just a great driver, but a great individual and a great ambassador to Formula 1 as well. That he has contributed so much to the sport, particularly this year. And this year has been his strongest year, not just on track, but off track as well. So, it has to be said that he has really made his mark this year. And one thing I actually mentioned earlier is, of course, there's no way you can say who is the best driver in Formula 1 history. There are certainly many great I'd say that a better way to say it is there is a group of best drivers in Formula 1 history. That it's more of a group. And I'd say Lewis is one of those groups, but all these drivers that are in this club have advantages and disadvantages over each other. And I was actually saying earlier, talking to a few people earlier, and saying that the advantage that Lewis has over the champions that he's often compared to is that he's done it without too much controversy, whereas the likes of, obviously, not saying this undermines them, the likes of Senna and Schumacher were involved in a few controversies during their career. Lewis has kind of managed to get through his career. Of course, he did have a few early controversies with the whole Ligate scandal and the whole bit with Alonso in 2007, but in his championship years, he have been relatively clean in that sense. And I think I'm not saying that makes him better. I'm saying that all these great drivers have advantages over each other. But this is one of the advantages that Lewis has over the others. And we also saw 2 titles secured since the last midweek recap. Firstly, I'm going to be talking about the British Formula 4 Championship, which was secured in quite unusual circumstances. But it was Luke Browning who took the championship. He won the first race, and a penalty for Zach O'Sullivan. He won the first race ahead of Zach O'Sullivan in second. Then Alex Connor won the second race on Sunday morning, and it looked like Zach O'Sullivan had taken points out of Luke Browning, but he got a penalty, which dropped him down to 4th. The last race, it was drama, as it seemed that there was oil down at the final corner at Clearways, which resulted in a lot of drivers going off, some worse than others, and Luke Browning came off pretty much worse. And he dropped to 10th, but the race was red flagged midway through due to weather and was not restarted. And because it was half points, despite the fact that Zach O'Sullivan won, it was not enough to take the championship from Luke Browning, and the Fortec driver took the British Formula 4 Championship and some super license points to go with it. Of course, the Formula 4 Championship supported the British Touring Car Championship, which concluded at Brands Hatch in a close title fight between Ash Sutton and Colin Turkington. And it was Ash Sutton who won the championship by 14 points, back to Colin Turkington in second. After it was looking good for Turkington at first, but he then lost the lead. He then lost the lead in the first race, and he could not win it back. Ash Sutton had a really good 3 races. Dan Camish won the first race to put him into title contention. He had a good weekend, with the first, the third, and the fourth. Then Sutton won the second race, which basically paved the way for the title-securing third race, which was won by Rory Butcher. Ash Sutton won the championship ahead of Colin Turkington in second. Dan Camish was in third ahead of Tom Ingram in fourth, Rory Butcher in fifth, and Tom Oliphant in sixth. Jake Hill was seventh ahead of Adam Morgan in eighth, Josh Cook in ninth, and Tom Chilton in 10th. It was a difficult year for the BTCC not being able to run with fans, but eventually the season happened and we saw some exciting racing. So that is the news. It is now time to preview the Bahrain Grand Prix. The Bahrain International Circuit is built on the island desert of Bahrain, playing host to its first Grand Prix in 2004. Designed by Herman Tilke, this circuit has lent itself to some great racing over the years, including the epic duel between Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg in 2014. The flowing 15 corners and 3 DRS zones do a lot to encourage overtaking. Here is a video lap around this circuit. So here we are, a lap round Bahrain, the original Grand Prix layout, which has remained unchanged since 2004. The heavy braking zone into the first corner is the obvious overtaking zone, but the exit to turn 1 into turn 2 and turn 3 is very difficult. You have to really play with the throttle. Now into the second DRS zone, into turn 4, which has a really wide exit to it, which makes it easy for drivers to switch back when being overtaken. Now in towards turn 5, 6 and 7, the flowing part of the circuit. Now towards turn 8, another overtaking zone where you could easily slip down the inside, particularly on the first lap. Now into the most tricky corner on the circuit, which catches out drivers year after year after year. You brake and turn as you go into turn 9 to get it slowed down for turn 10. Now into the third DRS zone up towards turn 11, which is a very long left-hander. And then you have a long, fast right-hander at turn 12, which is relatively ignored in a Formula 1 car. But the braking for turn 13 is quite difficult. It's very easy to run out wide. Now onto the final straight of the circuit, into the final corner. It's not a DRS zone, but you can overtake here into the final corner. Turn 15 is relatively ignored. It's the king that takes you back onto the main straight, and that is a lap around the Bahrain International Circuit. So, the Bahrain International Circuit, this was originally going to be the second race of the season this year, but obviously with the whole pandemic and everything, it was postponed. But Bahrain in recent years has produced some great racing. Saw it in 2014 where the likes of Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg had an incredible fight for the win. One of my favourite races in recent years. And then That was an exciting race. You had the 2018 race where Sebastian Vettel just fended off Valtteri Bottas to take the victory. Of course, last year's race where Charles Leclerc dominated until an issue with his power unit resulted in him falling to third, which was painful to watch, has to be said. But now it's time to go through a team-by-team preview ahead of this weekend's Bahrain Grand Prix. In reverse constructors order. I don't know how well the Williams is going to go around here. This is a very typical circuit, but considering it's not usually a race of attrition, it's not usually. I'm not really expecting them to be fighting for points this weekend. It could be the next weekend when they use the outer loop, which could be their chance. I think it could be quite a grim one for Haas. It was this race last year which essentially exposed their tyre issues. The tyre issues that they have been having, which has been their story since Bahrain last year. Considering this is a peculiar track for tyre wear, I'm not really sure that this weekend's going to be a good one for Haas, to be honest. Alfa Romeo are a team on the up in recent races. They are a team on the up, and they're closing on to the back of that midfield pack. And I'd say this weekend they'll be hoping to improve that. They'll be hoping to build on that. I think the Turkish race from Ferrari's good race there has resulted in their chances of taking sixth from Ferrari slipping away a bit. But they have been really good around here in the past. For example, in 2018, Pierre Gasly took fourth place, and also they'll probably have the advantage over Ferrari at the next round at the outer loop. But in the outer loop. They obviously had a really good race in Turkey with a third and a fourth, but this track might expose their weaknesses a bit. There's a lot of straights, which is not going to be good considering that they have considering their power unit deficit. Renault have been good here in the past, and they were running well here last year until they had that weird double failure in succession. But Renault are confident ahead of this race, and particularly the last three races should suit them well, particularly the outer loop. So even though they are behind in the battle for third right now, they have a chance of clawing it back in these last three races. It's not over for them. Next up we have McLaren, who have kind of been on a downhill trajectory recently, but they've been starting to rise again, and this is one of their home races. They have historically gone well round here, so this could be a decent one for McLaren. Another team that historically has gone well round here is Racing Point. They have often scored some really good points at this circuit, and I think their car should be able to do so again. honestly think this could be a weekend where Red Bull are closer to Mercedes than they have been. Red Bull have not been great at Bahrain recently, but they could. I think there is every chance that they could be on terms with Mercedes this weekend, considering that there's going to be a lot of things that could expose the weaknesses of the Mercedes car, such as for example, the tyre wear and hotter temperatures. Even though it's night, it's going to be still quite humid. However, I am still expecting them to have the advantage this weekend. Their car has often suited this track very well, and it should be able to manoeuvre around the fast-flowing corners quite effectively. So, I'd say that this should be a good weekend for Mercedes, as they once again go into the weekend as favourites. Going back into news. So, going to be taking a look at the drivers' standings going into this weekend's race. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton has it all but secured ahead of Valtteri Bottas in second. Max Verstappen is posing a bit of a threat to Valtteri Bottas' second place, ahead of Sergio Perez in fourth. Charles Leclerc is in fifth, a point ahead of Daniel Ricciardo in sixth. That battle for fourth in the drivers' standings is going to be very, very interesting. I'd say that there are at least 10 drivers that could get that with a surge in form in the last few races. Even Esteban Ocon, I'd say, could get that position if he has a surge in form in the last 3 races. It's just so topsy-turvy. Right now, this battle is. Also, something that I'm going to be talking about that is coming back this weekend is the Formula 2 series, which returns for the first time since Sochi, where we will see the Formula 2 cars once again, with 2 races at the one in this current Bahrain now, and another on the Bahrain Outer to finalise this Formula 2 championship. It's really the only major championship that we often see that still has its title on the line. But at the moment, it's looking good for Mick Schumacher, 22 points ahead of Callum Ilott in second. Yuki Tsunoda is looking like he could have an outside chance in third place on 147, ahead of Christian Lundgaard in fourth, who's had a very solid and consistent season. Lundgaard has not really been as fast as the drivers ahead, or really a lot of the drivers behind, but he's been considerably a lot more consistent than them, which is why he is in the position that he's in. Robert Schwartzman will be hoping to recover from a spate of bad luck in the past couple of races to see if he can finish off his campaign basically the way that he started it. Here, Nikita Mazepin, who looks like he is going to be leaving F2 to join Haas in Formula 1 next year. Louis Delatrez is in 7th, ahead of Guan Yu Zhou, who it must be said would likely be in the title fight if it wasn't for the bad luck he has had. Luca Giotto is currently in 9th in the standings on 104 points, with Dan Ticktum rounding out the top 10 on 80.5 points. So that is it from the final midweek recap. All these features will be uploaded separately from next week onwards, because I have a feeling that people might just prefer to see these things that way, and it might result in more views to keep things short and sweet. But so it's the end of the midweek recap, but not the end of these features. Moments of the week will take place, and that might actually, I'm actually planning on uploading that on the Monday after the race, and potentially having that as a public vote as well from now on, to add some interactivity to proceedings. And then the analysis will probably be throughout the week, And the news bit will probably be uploaded in a short video on Thursday. Will be a roundup. So, before I finish off, make sure you follow us on Twitter, RaceWeek_show. Visit the RaceWeek site at raceweekblog.com. And make sure you subscribe to this channel for more RaceWeek content. Thank you for watching, and we will see you. And we will see you tomorrow for the Friday recap. Goodbye.